A fine automobile is something to be admired, respected, even adored. It's an extension of you. You love your car so much, you want to share your most intimate moments with it. Well, now, you can. Introducing the new Mercury Mistress, the world's first car that you can actually have sex with.
As a part of our pop culture, sexuality has been a prominent way in which products, ideas, and concepts have been sold. Especially in the advertisement and selling of cars, hypersexuality has been wildly successful to sell ideas associated with luxury, thrill, excitement, happiness, and desire. We hypothesize that car advertisements have become more sexually influenced in a different way than in the past, while additionally transforming to appeal to different audiences. This combination of incorporating sexually appealing imagery and concepts in advertisements while attempting to appeal to adverse groups is what we will study. These audiences can mainly be identified as youth and young adults and young couples, as opposed to married and elderly couples and young families, though it may also be worth exploring the difference between what men and women think of sexuality and advertising in our changing times.
For me, a woman in a bikini on top of a car, or Paris Hilton eating a hamburger on top of a car is not the way to appeal to the sexy side of the car driving Dr. Strangelove. You need to work harder than that.
As stated by Kimmel in The Gender of Desire, the researchers of sexuality in advertisements have also demonstrated that the main fantasies of men and women do differ. Men often dream of adventure, meaning lots of sex, multiple partners, their own agency, and sometimes domination of others. Women often fantasize about romance, meaning a loving partner, moments of tenderness and togetherness, pleasant and aesthetic surroundings, commitment, and receptivity. Therefore, it has been and continues to be the role of advertisers to key into these fantasies in order to appeal to diverse audiences. It is important to understand these concepts from an academic perspective to truly conceptualize their meaning, which we will describe in further detail.
Well, sexuality in car ads is anything that refers to the erotic subliminally or by design or by intent. And cars are designed to be sexy in many ways. Sometimes they're designed to be angry and mean. It's not a universal thing.
Sex sells, and the car advertising industry isn't any different from any other industry. Over the years, you can see how car advertisements have progressed in terms of using sexuality in them. Back when car advertising started, the car ads were mostly in black and white, as color print wasn't out yet, and they mostly features a lot of text that described the car and the different features and tried to sell you a lifestyle as to why you should buy the car. Now, over the years, they started to incorporate sexuality. They would put the car, text, and the woman in the same ad. This was to try and appeal to sexuality as they did in most ads. Of course, as time went on, society became more and more accepting of this kind of advertising, so it evolved even more, and different companies started to push the boundaries as to how far they could take this. Now, the car ads don't even involve the cars. You just have the woman, and that's pretty much it. Woman, no car, and a lot of sexuality involved. And of course, this isn't the case for every car commercial you're going to see out there. It depends on the car. If you're trying to sell a minivan, it's not going to be the same as if you're trying to sell a Bentley or a Mercedes or a BMW, because the target market isn't quite the same. And it's also going to vary by country. In certain countries, they're a lot more open to nudity and the likes, so the ads will be a lot more sexual than you will find in certain other countries. But you can clearly see that over time there is an evolution in the use of sexuality and how it's evolved to being a lot more open.
Yeah, the use of sex in car ads is now very explicit. You have to go to Europe to see the explicitness of it. There was just a decade ago that a major voice in the industry said the use of babes to sell cars is over. We're not doing that anymore. And it was a complete falsehood, or he completely misread it. Sexuality in car advertising is just like sexuality in all of the other areas. It just gets more and more, the themes of car advertising follow along the themes of the pornographic. You know.
Car advertisements have changed and evolved over the years, ranging from different stages, such as using men to sell a car to using the sex appeal of a woman in order to sell a car. In advertising, it is much easier to grab the attention of a male viewer than a female viewer. Therefore, by just using a sexy image of a woman's body, a man can be convinced that if he were to buy the product, in this case the car, he would then be able to have the woman as well. By the end of the 1940s, car ads slowly began to get more creative, and slowly women began to get involved. We notice in the Ford advertisements of 1949 how they are not only introducing females into the advertisements, but they are also trying to make the male figure feel powerful through using slogans such as "Ride like a king and a monarch." Slowly then, the car advertisements started to evolve and become more creative and sexual. According to Hayakawa and Anne-Marie Berry's book, Visual Intelligence, Perception, Image, and Manipulation in Visual Communication, by the end of the 1950s, the automobile industry had decided that transportation was only a secondary reason for buying a car, and that its primary function was to allay men's sexual anxieties. The 1960s was a turning point for car advertisements. It was where we began to see more desire and affection in the ads. The advertisements at that time began to relate buying a car with marriage and love. Therefore, this goes back to how the ads are used to convince a man that by buying the car he will thus have the woman. Therefore, cars since then have become associated with females, and nowadays we tend to see how the ads have vastly become more sexualized and thus portray the eroticization of women. Therefore, as concluded by the three authors, Peter Nagins, Constance Hess, and Bas van Den in their book, Content and Media Factors in Advertising, there seems to be a positive relationship between sexual self-schema and advertising responses to commercials which portray the sexual imagery of females, including attitude towards the ad, brand interest, and the intention of purchasing the product.
Nuevo Seat Panda, a tu ritmo.
So what's the first thing that pops in your mind when you hear a car show? Do you think about the vehicles, or do you think about the women? I mean, it's 2011, sex sells, and how else can you capture the public's attention, right?
Hey baby, you're irresistible. Hey baby, you're so powerful.
All this sexuality is so easy to display, but what people don't realize is that women are being portrayed as sex objects, which is very insulting to human nature. And men also. They're being displayed as perverts. According to a survey, over 4,000 women for Tesco Personal Finance claim that the sexiest car that a man should drive is the Aston Martin. Why the Aston Martin? Maybe because James Bond drove it in his movie. And James Bond has sex with a lot of women. Do you not see the correlation?
Honey, I just had the ride of my life. Really smooth, great looking, amazing body. And the size, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was so much bigger than I expected.
With a powerful 1.8-liter engine, heaps of room, and extra comfy seats, the all-new Nissan Tita makes you feel really, really,
Oh yeah.
really good inside.
We now live in a world where there's less sexualized advertisement in relation to cars. There are more manufacturers, and most cars aim at being more emotional than erotic. Most car advertisement is for family, casually social, and for duty purposes. The era of erotic car art is fast fading away in the business strategy, except in the exotic sports cars. In future, most advertisements are moving into a world of 3D views, Android smartphones, and the introduction of robots for car sales.
irresistible.